So you asked Ben a question that I thought was interesting that I wanted to ask right back to you. This could be considered lazy, but I have my own question. But if not magic, what would you be doing if it wasn't magic?
Yeah, I've thought about this myself for a long time. Um, I I've wrestled with this and I've come to the truth about it. There's nothing else that I was supposed to do.
When you say
I mean,
magic saved your life, you
yeah,
really mean
yeah,
that.
very much so. 100% magic saved my life, and I mean it to the most literal sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about this as I was doing shows when I was younger, and I grew up on stage, and I was thinking about like, well, what else? No, my entire life was formed and pathed in a certain way that this was going to be it, and there, there's nothing else I could see myself doing because there's nothing else I ever have done as far as a full life of a career or anything like this. This is it. And yeah, it was meant to be. It was meant to be. And I don't mean that conceitedly. I mean that in the most humble way possible, speaking to the universe. Like it was meant to be. All the things lined up. It's not a mistake that I got to do what I got to do. It's not a mistake I got to become who I got to become. It's not a mistake. And
Yeah.
I've come to real strong grips with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you look back at your entire just story, everything, it was like everything was in the right place at the right time. Stars aligned.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I remember real vividly when I was 5 years old, I saw my very first magic trick for my dad. It was the 4 robbers. And I remember vividly after watching those robbers jump to the top of the deck, I heard a voice inside my being, my soul, my psyche, whatever. I don't know what it was. I was 5 years old. Who knows? I mean, I know what it is now, but I didn't know what that unction was. And I remember it saying very clearly, everybody in the world needs to experience this very moment that you experienced. I remember at 5 years old, just hearing that and taking that in. And then my entire life was just the teasing out of that, that kind of, that call to adventure, if you will. And, yeah, it's crazy, man. I've had other jobs when I was younger. I've done other things. I failed at every one of them. And that's interesting. It's not, and I didn't fail because I wasn't good at them. I was managers. I was this. I was always the top of when I was a salesman, I was always the top, no question. But something always happened where I had to fall back onto magic. And there was a point in my life where I was working all these other jobs when I was married and stuff. And magic just kept coming back. And I finally looked at my wife at the time. I said, I really think I should just try this for a year and see what happens. Like really fully delve into it. And literally within 24 hours, I got my first call for a lecture that someone else couldn't lecture, and I had to lecture. And right then, it was just a boom. You know what I mean? And then that turned into Illusionist, and it happened within, no bullshit, man. It happened within like a week and a half, man. Things just started falling in. I met Brad, Silver Dream, then Army 52, and then the Loops fucking thing, and then Bullet, and then Factory Sealed, and then and Mindbender was the very first thing I put out with Illusionist. I just taught it for Kevin. What was his name? No, what was his name? I haven't. Hold on. I don't want to fuck up his name. Anthony Bill and Cole. He was from the Philippines. Do you guys remember Mindbender?
I don't, because I wasn't around.
You took a playing card, and you put it on the back, remember, and it starts to bend, right? Beautiful principle. Great, natural, very practical. And I did I did like an hour and a half of teaching on that. And from then, Brad's like, well, what else do you have? And I showed him Silver Dream, and he's like, fuck me, dude. You're using a shell? You're using a gimmick? I'm like, no, it's all sleeving. He goes, you're fucking sleeving? He goes, oh, dude. Well, and there had been nothing. You have to understand. I'm a student of Carl Cloutier. Carl Cloutier. I'm a student of. I'm not a student of his of the way he sleeves and the big sleeves that he uses. I'm like, Carl, come on, man, that looks huge. But he inspired me to find other ways to sleeve. And I was like very, very young. I mean, I was like 13, 14 years old when I was working on sleeving stuff. You know, magic's been my entire life. So I was delving into some really heavy topics and heavy advanced moves and creating new ideas with this kind of stuff at a very, very, very early age. So, you know, and I think that just kind of goes back and shows the evidence of like, I mean, you know, this has just been my entire life. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Well,
Yeah.
you said you remember this at 5 years old. Most people don't have any memories at 5 years old. So it's cool that you have that memory.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I have different memories for different things. My brain's just, that's a weird way of saying it. Most people do, Justin. But, well, let me give you an example. So this was the moment I knew that I was hearing from the universe something special and I needed to heed to it. And that's the 5-year-old. Every person in the world needs to experience this. And that was one kind of revelatory awakening into the consciousness of me at this time, right? Of being a person, of being a being. There was another one where I came online as a person though. And that's a different kind of coming revelatory experience. I was much older than 5. I don't remember how old I was. I was a very young child though still. And I was riding my bike and it was getting close to dusk because back then you just had to be back home before the lights came on. That was it. We used to we got to go on adventures. I mean, I'm 48. We got to do some shit. It's not these days where everybody's inside and nobody's doing like, it's insane. We got to experience the world at our own little, and nobody was trying to, you know, abduct us or kill us, or it wasn't happening like that.
Your bike was your best friend. Your bike was your best
very
friend.
much so. Yeah. Well, that, you know, that one picture of seeing all the children's bikes at one house. Oh my goodness. That brought back a lot of memories when I saw that meme, because it's very, very true. You knew where everybody was because their bikes was in front of that person's house. So you would go around the neighborhood and see, oh, there's 3 bikes there. Let's see who's there. Let's see who's whatever. Yeah. And then you just go on adventures from there. So I was riding one day on my bike and I was yawning. I remember this so vividly. Like I can smell the grass right now. I literally, in my mind's eye, I can see the sidewalk. I can see the dusk. I can see the lights coming on. And I was yawning like this. And a fucking moth, a huge fucking moth, just went, wah. And I started choking. Choking, just, and my life flashed before my eyes. But at the very moment I came online, I go, I'm a person. Like I can die. Yeah. Like, and I was very, very young when I realized that. Really, really young. And I was and there was nobody around to protect me or help me. There was nobody around. It was just me on this bike. Nobody was out or anything. It was a really interesting moment. And even when I think about it, I mean, my last name is Miller, and I got choked by a Miller. Kind of interesting right? Yeah. The self-sabotage that I've had in my life too. It's like kind of interesting. You are a smart one, dear Lord. So that was another time that I just kind of came online in a different way. And I've had other times that come online. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I have a same type of thing where I was at a gas station and I was getting in the car with my dad, and I all of a sudden just got super dizzy, like we're almost passed out. And then I was like, holy shit, I could die. Like I thought I was dying. Yeah. And it made a whole, it changed. Woo. That feeling. I still fear that feeling. Sure. And we went to the doctors, and it was just, I was being a kid. I was dehydrated. I was, you know, it was just, but, boy, that was scary, man. Yeah. I was like, Dad, I'm dying. I'm dying.
Yeah. When you have those experiences as a child, you start to perceive the world in a totally different way. And I think experiences come to you in a different way too. It's really, really, it's pretty fascinating, actually.
Well, as much as we talk about it too, not somebody admit this person, as much as we talk about it, about that scary experience, for the most part, growing up was just like, get on the bike. Do I have $1 so I can get 100 penny candies at the penny, right. You know? And but now kids can't even do that anymore, dude. No.
We used to be able to get cigarettes for our parents.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we would
Yeah.
and my dad would be like, "Go get me a pack of Winston's," and I'd cross the train tracks and everything, and
Yeah.
it was it was really cool, man. It was, but nowadays, no, people just want to kill people and it's crazy.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's Gregory Wilson.
Hey, Gregory.
Hey, I'm a little nervous. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. I'm just calling to see if you give personal lessons, man.
I do. Would you? Do you want to? I got this new thing called put pocketing. I think you'll really like it, Greg.
Oh, that hurt. That really hurt.
That's
that
why
really hurt.
So I did it.
You can explain that on
hey,
your podcast?
How's Magic Live?
Jeez, I got the hair. Not there yet. I'm at church right now.
Oh, okay. You're just at church. Very cool. Very cool.
Waiting for the person who invited me. She's not around, but we'll see. You know,
do you have a question
church,
for Justin?
Yeah. What are the best kind of church chicks?
Church chicks? We could start a Christian a single place called Church Chicks.
Yeah, I've got a few lines like, "Hey, nice Bible."
Right, exactly.
Or is
wait, are you blushing? Wait, what is it?
Is this pew taken?
It's just cute taken. Nice. That's funny. That's funny.
Like, listen, would you like to go speak in tongues?
Hold on. You ever see a hermeneutic like this?
Would you like to be fruitful and multiply? Did you know, awesome. By the way, did you know if I gave your father a goat 2,000 years ago, I would own you right now?
I would own your ass. Hey, I've got 32 shekels. Where can I buy you from?
For Amish girls. For Amish girls. Nice buggy.
Nice buggy. Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait for the wet bonnet contest.
The what?
The wet bonnet contest.
Oh, the wet bonnet contest.
These are useful for Ohio.
My barn or yours?
Hey, would you like to raise the barn with me?
Yeah, would you like to raise the barn? What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow? You want to raise a barn with me? Oh, that's funny.
Hey, I don't want to be too forward. I don't want to be too forward, but I can almost see your ankles.
That's funny.
Can I buy thee a buttermilk colada?
That's great. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Well, we never get to see this. This is amazing.
I know.
Are these how your phone calls go?
Yeah, absolutely. This is before me and Greg ever get into the meat and potatoes of what our conversation is really about, though. Well, this is the prelude to the Wilson Miller conversation. Yeah. You're witnessing it in real time right now.
Does he have an off switch, or is he just always on?
No. Oh, fuck no.
Yeah.
Greg, do you have an off switch?
Well, I'm sorry, I was off right now. What were you saying?
That's fuck here. See, even making an off switch joke about being off is fucking hilarious and brilliant.
Yeah. Well, ask him a question.
I was on pause. I couldn't hear you.
That's funny.
Ask Justin a question.
Do you have a question?
Oh, right now, I'm sorry, I was being pensive.
Okay, there you go. You've answered your own question, folks. No, he does not have an off switch.
Oh, by the way, is it just you two who are on here? There's nobody else, is there?
Oh, you're hilarious, dude. We have 19 people on right now. It's being recorded.
No, you don't.
Yeah, it's a Q&A for my Q&A for my master class. Do you not know this?
No.
You son of a bitch. Do you think that this just is a random fucking call between people? What are you doing?
I thought it,
This is
I am
this
so
has been
sorry.
this has been this. It's so much fun. This is what they like, though. Let's be real. It's like this is the idea of watching bloopers, but on the other side for you and I talking to each other. So
So wait,
yeah,
we're doing bloopers first.
we've
Yeah.
already done them, haven't we?
Oh,
So
in all
anyways, yeah, this
seriousness, I thought it was
this has been
two of us.
advertised. No, this has been advertised for about a month now. This is a thing. Event.
Oh, I'm so rude. I am so rude. Get to the magic.
Hold on.
I'm so
Well, here's what's funny. This is kind of apropos for a reason, because I can't tell you how many times, and Greg will attest to this, where he's left. And by the way, who leaves their phone on during a lecture that they're giving? It's his fault, not mine. Let's be real. But I've called him so many times in the beginning on accident. I didn't know he was doing a lecture. And he's in the middle of the lecture and he goes, "Hey, hold on one second, guys. Hey, Justin Miller, how are you? I'm right here doing the lecture and wherever he was in the world." And he goes, "Everybody say hi to Justin." I'm like, "Hey." I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So I've done that to him about 3 or 4 times. And the last time I did that to him, I did it on purpose because I knew where he was going to be and what time. And I did it on purpose. And he said, "Ah, shit, I didn't turn my phone off again." And so this is kind of a little apropos of you got me back. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
By the way, these people are so rude. I'm trying to have a conversation here. Christians, these guys, look, best day ever. Bibles and everything. Look at these people.
So do you have a question so we can
this
keep this going? No, this isn't what this is. There's 19. Listen, there's 18 other people that have questions too. That's the reason.
Let them speak. I'm just being rude. Let them,
Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay,
go.
Chris. So get somebody else to get a question.
Yeah. Well, we got questions. We got questions in the chat.
Yeah. Let's start
them.
them.
Okay. Matt, Mathematics says, having so many years of material, do you still use any of your old effects? What is your favorite trick from over 10 years ago?
Great
question. That's a great question. Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. Of course, I still use my older effects, and I'm always looking to streamline them and see what I can do differently with them. So lately, I've been looking back at Miller's Vault and all the mass production of effects I've produced and created and discovered. And there's a lot of times I'm like, wow, that would be great in this thing over here. In fact, in the masterclass, kind of interesting, it leads up to this. In the masterclass, I'll be teaching an effect that has 3 versions and 3 versions, and it's gone from a 2005 thing in my first set of lecture notes, which was to something I put out 3 years ago, to something where I'm now it has a home. It had a home before, but it just didn't have all the colors there, right? But that trick is, but those other 2 versions were solid effects within their own right. But now this has, it's found its place, right? Because I've used all those little things and put that into this final thing. So I look at my old material like that, and I look at my old material all the time to just get inspired by other ideas I might have missed at that time. You know what I mean? So for whatever reason.
My question is, do you inspire yourself?
Do I inspire? Yes, I do, Greg. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do, Greg. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Apparently, yes. And it's funny because I hate. I'm like, listen, Greg probably has the same thing. I hate watching myself. I'm like, oh, especially where it's just me without just the explanation, and you're going through. Editing for me is just a nightmare sometimes because I'm looking at this bald-headed guy or this guy that doesn't have hair and didn't have hair, or this guy that and I'm like, what were you thinking at that time? And once I get past that, then I can look at the effect and kind of dissect it and see if there's something special I could add to it, or if there's anything I can take away from it to make it a little bit better. I think we can always make at least everything 10% better for sure.
Well, I have a question since Gregory's here, and he's in front of 19 people.
Yeah.
What about? I would like Gregory to come on and do a Q&A after.
There you go. Done.
A few months from now.
I'm sure he will. Wouldn't that be great?
Wait, did Justin just speak for me?
Yep.
From one bald-headed guy to another?
That's right. Well, not anymore. Not anymore, sir.
Dude, look at you compared to this.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm gonna put a little hair on the front of my hat, so when I do this, I can just kind of.
That's funny.
Yeah. Good stuff. And what was that second part of Matt's question? What was it?
What is it about? 10. What is your favorite trick from over 10 years ago?
So I've said it
I know
before.
you've had like it's hard for you to pick favorites. I know.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There's just too much I've created, and there's too many. They're all my babies at some level. They're all my children, right? So it's like, and I've said this before. There's certain words I just have never really understood or really grasped or really connected to in the human language. The word favorite, the word friends, and the word love. Greg has been an incredible person and brother to teach me what a true friend is. So I've learned a lot through him. So I've been able to use the word friend and brother with. I've called him brother before that. Brother.
So I'm your so I'm your favorite friend.
No, you're my favorite brother, right? So, and the word favorite's so weird to me. It's just like, I can't, because we always change. Again, I used to be bald. I have a long hair now. I mean, we're never the same, right? We always have these micro and sometimes macro changes. And so someone's favorite or something idea could be something completely different, years later or 2 weeks later. So the best way I can answer this and the most honest way is I don't think I can pinpoint a favorite. What I can do though, is I can tell you the one that I am very proud that it got out the way it did and how it did. And that's Vanish. That's Vanish. Oh, thank you for the claps. You guys are Vanish, my vanishing deck. You're on the fucking project.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Gregory Wilson's Freedom Pack.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, you're fucking funny. No. Well, Freedom Pack got me out of my funk and my divorce, and it really helped me move back into the magic community. And thank you to Papa Paul for that. Paul Harris became a dear brother from that point on. But Vanish was a struggle to get to where it needed to be. And I was just really happy all the pieces fell together. Paul, me buying the rights back from Paul and then selling it to Illusionist was just the most perfect way it could have ended. Yeah.
I don't understand that actually. I wanted to ask about that. So
sure.
You bought the rights back. So you sold you sold it to Paul?
So I showed it to Paul about 4 years ago. And Paul just went ape shit over it, and we sold it. So we showed it to Murphy's. Murphy's loved it, and Paul was like, "This is going to be your next Paul Harris Presents." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" I'm the only magician that has 3 of them now. This will be awesome. I was so excited, and he said it's going to be called. What do you think about this? It's going to be called the Ultimate Paul Harris Vanishing Deck, designed, created, and performed by Justin Miller. And I'm like, wow. Fuck yes, right? I mean, the PH fucking Vanishing Deck, and I get to actually now have ownership with Paul of this thing that I adored when I was a child. Oh my goodness. And it's my 3rd Paul Harris Presents. Oh yes, let's do this. And they were going to buy what they were going to buy. And about a year later, because it takes a while for projects to come out. I don't know if people know that, but it's not just we film them and then they're out the next week. I mean, sometimes you film something, it's not out for a year or maybe 2 years. You just don't know what the time schedule is. And which is why I love doing my own stuff, because I have my own time schedule and I can just whatever. So Paul contacted me again. He goes, "Hey, can you show me that again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And he goes, "We're gonna send it over to Mark, and just hold tight." I'm like, "Okay." And he comes back and he goes, "Well, Murphy's they don't want to buy as many as they were going to, and they don't want it to be a Paul Harris Presents." And I was like, and then all the air in my fucking body just was like, "Oh, what? Why?" And Mark was like, he didn't think it was he didn't think it would sell.
That's that's
Oh,
bad
they
on them.
fucked up bad, dude. Oh yeah, Murphy's
Yeah.
fucked up royally.
Yeah.
Especially with the amount that they were going to buy and what they were going to pay us and everything. They truly fucking missed the boat on this. And I kept going back to Paul because Paul was being real careful. Paul's very diplomatic, and he's just a beautiful, beautiful person. He doesn't want to ever. He's so careful about going around things but bringing the truth through it without ruffling feathers. He's really a master at it. It's really amazing. It's one of his amazing, just incredible gifts as a person and as a genius that he is. Excuse me. So I kept saying, well, why? Tell me why. What did they say? And he said, well, you know, they didn't think it was the same gimmick that it was going to be. They thought it was something different. I'm like, what do you mean? That we showed it to them. They had the video. He goes, I know, Justin, I know. This sucks. It sucks. I hate this too. I really want this to be a thing. And I said, okay, well, what's our options? He said, well, we can still release it. It's not going to be a Paul Harris Presents, but I'll fund it. And I'll pay for everything. All the gimmicks being made. And but it's not going to be a Paul Harris Presents. And you can't say anything about Paul Harris Presents on it. You can't say anything about the Paul Harris Vanishing Deck on it. We have to call it something completely different. I'm like, fuck. So we started trying to figure out names for it. And finally, I just came up with Vanish. I like Vanish. It was perfect. It's easy. It's simple. Rolls off the tongue. It's exactly what it looks like. It vanishes. It's done. He loved that. We're gonna, because it's a speed flap gimmick, right? And it's a rare speed flap gimmick because there's never been a speed flap gimmick that looks like the front of a deck and then it vanishes into. There's two reasons. It vanishes, the deck vanishes, but then the gimmick vanishes into itself. So you get this really beautiful moment where you can go front and back and you can't see a fucking thing. So there was a reason I called it Vanish, but he wanted to call it Noah and Paul. He was like, let's call it Viper Vanish or let's call it Snake Viper Vanish. And I'm like, Viper Vanish is interesting. I like that. Because it's that right? The Viper kind of moment, right? The quick.
Yeah. And
so we finally, agreed on Vanish, and I sold the rights to Paul, and then with the gimmick builder, I'm not going to name his name, but he fucked me over so bad, and it was just a nightmare, and I lost over 400 units in this fucking deal, and it sucked. It really was bad, and I was just. Everything around it now didn't feel good. I didn't like it. And I knew for a fact if I let it go this way and it kept going and it went to completion, because we were at the stages of what the envelope was going to look like. And we had a 3D thing that was going to happen. I created this 3D idea when you open it up and it has this, then Vanish kind of pops up at you. And then it looks so good. Gimmick on this side, white. It looked fucking amazing. And so I'm still creating these ideas. I'm still having these ideas for this project, but it just didn't feel right. And I knew that if I put it out with that energy, from the energy that I was feeling from it, I knew that I wouldn't be good for anybody who bought it. I don't know if that makes sense to people, but when someone creates something or you discover something and it's part of you and it comes from you and you're putting that out into the world, right? I love what I think it was Seneca said this. He said that an artist is just somebody who's expressing to the rest of the group their perspective of the world, right? And I love that's really beautiful, because we go out there, we see the world with our perspective, our perception, and then we internalize it, then we express it back through our art, whatever that might be, poetry, music, magic, whatever the fuck it might be. Well, as a creator, that you have a really sense of that. At least I do. I don't know if everybody does, but I do. I have a real strong sense of that. And I didn't want to. I was really iffy, and everything was fucking up around it. And I was like, Paul, man, this is just getting messy. He goes, yeah, I know, Justin. I'm so sorry. He was really apologetic about it. He goes, what do you want to do, man? What do you want to do? I said, I don't know, man. Just let me think about it. I went to bed, and I woke up the next day literally with tears down my face. I woke up that way. And the thought I had was, my baby is getting molested right now. My child is getting hurt. And I can't let this happen. So I immediately, right when I was wiping the tears, I mean, I was still crying. I was like, it was the craziest thing. It really was. It was like, you know, I wake up just tears, and the first thought is that. It's like, whoa, it really was affecting me. And so I text Paul, and we got on the phone. I said, here's what I want to do, and let me know what you think. I want to buy the rights back from you. I don't, it's not, has nothing to do with you, Paul. I don't feel right about this anymore. I want, you know, we wanted it to be a PHP, you know, Paul Harris Presents. Yeah. Was that PHP? Yeah, PHP. Sorry. You know, all these things around it. Murphy's this, then they canceled those orders, and they only want a certain number, and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't like anything around it. I was like, just let me buy the rights back if that's okay. There's no problem, Justin. Buy the rights. So I bought the rights back, which was a pretty penny. And then I got them all done myself. And I lost 400. So I think I had only like 600 units. And I was thinking to myself, well, how do I sell this now? Like, I know I'm going to have a reach on my website, my fans and my customers. I know I have that reach, but do I have a 600 unit reach for like instant sell? And then I thought, well, fuck. Why don't I go back to the way we used to do it? See, when we used to create and we used to go to magic shops, and they would sell our effects through magic shops. And so I just started contacting everybody that I knew and knew me, and they knew who I was. Joe Steven. I was so happy before Joe passed that we got to do this. I contacted Hocus Pocus. I contacted Tannins. I contacted so I contacted like 6 or 7 magic shops, and then I contacted Brad too. And so I sold. Alakazam, they had the exclusive for the UK. They had 100, I think they bought, or 200, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And and they sold. Every one of them sold like in a heartbeat, and I sold out like that. And then Brad bought the last 137. And the reason I wanted to sell to Illusionist, just those 137, because I knew that was going to open up a conversation with me and G on the phone at some point. I knew they weren't going to look at that and go, okay, that's all we want, because it's too good. It's just too fucking good. And I knew it was special. I just knew it was special. And so then we had that, you know, I sold all of them to the magic shops. They sold out. And then me and G had the conversation, and the rest is history.
And you're one of the only people. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, he sold like 5 of them to me. He's such a good salesman.
Right. I gave them to you out there.
You sold 2 to me. You're one of the only people to actually credit Paul with the vanishing. We see it all the time.
Well, yeah, I'm really glad you brought this up, because I can't believe I didn't say this in part of the story, but and Paul knows this too. One of the reasons I wanted it to be a PHP, one of the main reasons, in fact, I would say it is the reason I want, besides just having a third, you know, title under my belt, which would have been fucking cool as hell. I every single person. And if you look on the copy, the ad copy on Illusionist, it talks about this, because I told G this. Every single person that's ever put out a variation of the Paul Harris Vanishing deck, because he created it, he designed it. No, it did not exist before that. And I even talk about this in the download. The only Vanishing decks we saw at that time was on stage, and they were proppy, and they were either under a handkerchief or something. But there had not been a close-up version of a Vanishing deck on stage as you could do just in front of somebody. Paul,
hey guys, gotta go. Thanks so much. You guys were fun. We'll catch up another time.
All right, see you, brother. Let me know when it's your
Q&A.
All right, cool. Let me know when it's your Q&A so I can take up 10, 15,000 minutes. I love him to death. He's my brother, man. Love him to death.
I'm so glad we got to see that interaction.
Yeah, that was fun, and it was filmed too, so it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest things was this has to be given credit to Paul finally, because every single version, every single one, no credit. Teo
Like
Magic,
zero,
no credit,
nothing.
zero, not one person.
And you're not lying about that, because I've seen it. There's nothing.
Shin Lim used his gimmick. Shin Lim used the Paul Harris vanishing deck in his fucking little project that he had. Not 1 ounce of credit to Paul Harris.
Yeah, no.
That was a really, so I've watched every single version come down the line from the beginning. I've researched every single one. Not one fucking person. I said, well, that's got to stop right now. So that's why I came to him. I didn't come to Illusionist first with this. I didn't come. This is Paul's baby, and I wanted Paul to make sure that me as the midwife was going to take care of this birth.
You were the surrogate.
That you're absolutely correct. Yeah. So, and Paul allowed me to be that too, and so it was just so thankful to Papa Paul. We call him Papa Paul because he's like a father. So yeah, that's the reason I went to Paul in the first place, because I wanted to make sure. And if you look around the download, if you look on the ad copy pages, it's all over Paul Harris. That's why Paul gave me that quote. This is the best version of my effect I have ever seen. That's because I said, I said, if it's not going to be a PHP, can I at least get a quote from you? He said, sure.
Explain.
So that was like,
explain that feeling when Paul Harris, even though you know him as a friend, and all, says that's the best version, or the fact that he has respect for you.
I know him as sure, right? Like, what the fuck? Who am I next to Paul Harris, right?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Well, it's interesting. I got the I didn't make this quote up, but people started calling me the Paul Harris of my generation once they started to see.
Yeah, I've heard
when I start coming out. Yeah, it was really, really weird, man. It was a hard thing to take in, because at that time I didn't have Freedom Pack or anything or any of that stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that's like, I grew up on Paul. I cut my teeth on Paul's material. I have every single one of his books. He has 17 books right here. He's written 17 books. I don't know if you guys know that. He's written 17 fucking books. I mean, it's the most, he's been the most written magic author of pretty much history, except for Tarbell, and Tarbell's how many? I mean, and those were manuscripts. Those were the newsletters, if you will, in the mail that were collected. So subscription, and he's working on 3 other books right now. So like, the man's a fucking genius, and for him to look at my stuff and go, I want to put my name behind you, I want to put my money behind you, it's like, fuck, dude, that's just wow. And every single Paul Harris present I've had has just been right through the roof, man. So yeah, I'm just so thankful I got to team up with him in this life to do these things.
Well, it's funny because you don't see yourself like that, but like Ben Harris, I look at him as like a Mar and a Daryl, but he's like, no way, dude, those are my heroes. Right. And like, that's how it is with you. Like, he's your hero, but we look at you at that same thing as Paul. We'll get to another audience question.
It's a weird cyclical thing. And I think how you take criticism and how you take pats on the back show what kind of character you are, and maturity of a person. I think Gregory just loves patting himself on the back. Now go ahead to the second person, Matt. Hey, great question, Matt. Great question, Matt.
Yeah, thank you,
great
Matt.
question, Chris.
Perseus says, which piece of magic you're the most proud of and why? I think we already answered that almost, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah, Vanish. Well, the other person said the past 10 years, and he's saying Perseus is let's take the whole gambit, right?
The whole thing, yep.
Wow. I'm really I'm really proud of every single thing I did with Illusionist. I'll put the unit measure that you want into a conglomerate as a whole low. So I guess that's my best answer. Not to say I'm not proud of any of the other stuff I've done. I mean, I am, but I'm just super proud of everything we did at Illusionist. Every single
I didn't realize all this stuff. Because I wasn't around then, and I was going on YouTube and just searching the internet. You have a lot of shit there. I didn't even realize all this stuff.
Yeah, over 11, I think 12 DVDs and over 146 effects I've created for the company. Yeah,
that is crazy.
For myself, yeah, it's nuts. That's one company. It's nuts, bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, I was just very fortunate. I was able to. we got to start at the ground, me and Brad, and figure out what this was going to be, and to be a part of that was just it's so cool. It's just so fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts.
I mean,
Nuts.
that's definitely history, illusionist, and
Yeah.
regardless
Oh,
of what
absolutely. Yeah.
your take
Yeah.
is
I
on
mean,
illusionist, you can't say
doesn't
that.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Illusionist started this whole fucking thing of this magic marketing in a whole different way, and really showing it as a craft and an art and taking it seriously. Yeah, they're a business, so they want to sell things, but you saw the switch. You saw what happened with Brad. I mean, he got so much fucking flack from How to Do Street Magic because he didn't credit anybody. And so when it got onto the cafe at that time, people started hearing about it, and then they got it and they realized that there's no crediting, there's no nothing. So it was me and Garcia and Halchin that really brought in this artistry. These are people who are professionals. Oh no, and they're giving credit. So that so there was a sense of, one of the things we taught the generation of that time, and hopefully we continue to, is that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And so these things that you're seeing are not just me doing these things. I'm inspired by this person. And so I know for a fact that there's all my projects led other people to other magicians before me. And that's all I've ever wanted, is for people to know that, you know, we don't just do this in a vacuum. There's this whole line of glorious, brilliant, genius creators and magicians that, and then you found me and Garcia and Halchin, and you realize that, oh wow, these guys inspired these guys. And we were the first people to like really teach people, like, you need to know this stuff. It's not, you know, it's not just, you know, it's a double lip, but double turnover, you know, well, where did double turnover come from? And like, here's a version of this. Where did this come from? So we didn't just teach magic. We were teaching people how to see magic. We were teaching people how to understand the history of magic. Yeah. And I think that's what really set myself and Garcia and Halchin apart. And we really kind of just, and people just rode that wave with us. You know, we just kept putting out really good, strong material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
funny. The history and making sure everything is good is important. Again, I'll go back to Ben Harris when he was talking about the floating match. You can buy it anywhere for $1 or $2. But when you do that, you're not getting all his subtleties. You're not getting the fact that you can have the card signed. That's why he released it for free. The instructions.
That was his delight before delight was a thing.
Yeah,
you know, it's become delight. It's become one of the most ripped off fucking tricks in every. And well, there's like 3 of them right now. It's anything John Cornelius, by the way, but pen through Bill. So that's one of the, if not the most ripped off effect of all of magic. And of course floating match, and what's the other one I would say? Who's the other creator that we were talking about? We were talking about. Well, okay, I'll just put those 2. Yeah, so those are the top 2. I think are the most ripped off. Yeah.
No, easily.
And it's brilliant, genius stuff.
Yeah.
What Ben did was, I mean, think about it. He went from, instead of anchoring things to here to here to here to here with you know, reels and all this other stuff. What if the actual thing was contained in itself?
Yeah, he talked about that.
That's brilliant. Did he talk about that? I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah, he said that's the whole reason he did it.
Take that away. Yeah.
He said the whole reason he did it was he hated that there was an end and beginning to the thread and attach here. He wanted it to be all self contained, where you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Brilliant mind. Yeah. Brilliant thinking. Yeah.
And he got the idea when he was watching an architect show in the 80s with his sister about bridges.
That's great.
And he was like, holy shit. I love it.
That's great. Yeah, I love how magicians, creators, and these kind of like really high thinking people can look at things in the world, and it just goes and inspires them to just immediately have this idea method for something magical. I mean, that's just, that's an incredible gift to have. It just is beautiful.
Yeah, it is crazy, man. Mike,
let's go next question. Vanish. More questions?
Yeah. Well, Mike first says Vanished by Justin Miller is fire. So
thank you, brother. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate you, man.
Brendan says, just wish to say, very amazing to hear these real-time conversations. I think between you and Greg. Yeah, that was great. Benjamin says, what's your favorite effect from another creator?
Good question.
Yeah. be hard to answer, but
Well, I'll tell you the things I started doing in my close-up sets when I was doing restaurant work when I was very young, 15, 16, 17 years old, 19, that kind of thing. Carbon Copy by Jay Sankey is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. The dual reality moment of them feeling the burn and then they say they feel it and then it's so good.
what's something recent?
Well,
Is there something recent?
I'll tell you, I'm really into older magic too. So I'm a huge fan of Leipzig's cigars and purse. I put up my own version with the cigars during COVID or during the psychological lockdown. Sorry, I spelled that wrong and said it wrong. So that was really fun to revisit that. Fred Kapp's Chinese coin is just, and I put out a couple sets of those during that time.
I love
I
Leipzig.
used to.
I love it. I love that. He has a thing. Leipzig would have loved this. The card trick. I don't know if you ever seen it. Leipzig would have such a good card trick. It's one of the first tricks I ever seen. God, it's a good trick. I saw Bill Malone do it, and I was blown away by it.
The Floating Seahorse by Daniel Cross back in 1984. Man, that was so good. Which it's based off of the Kapp's Floating Cork, but it used the seahorse. I used to perform Steve Fearson's Floating Cigarette all the time when I did nightclub work when I was super young. I mean, I had it set up. I had like 5 or 6 set up for the night in a cigarette pack. I used to love that. I love that effect.
Yeah.
I used to perform Carl Cloutier's Bill and Kiwi. So good. So good.
Well, I have a question that kind of relates to this in a way. Well, a lot of you guys that have been in magic for so long, and I'm kind of jealous of this because I can go anywhere on the internet, learn anything, buy anything. I could be here by tomorrow. I kind of like the idea of back when you had like the one book or the one videotape or the one whatever that you did, and you could actually see, you can actually see that person. They have that same style as that book or that. Like if you see someone that says like I grew up on all Daryl, you can see they have that Daryl style. Was there any book or DVD or anything that was just like your Bible at the time, like when you were super young?
Yeah, I mean, well, I grew up reading, a Magician's Handbook. I grew up reading, every book I've ever read in magic is here, by the way. So like, I cut my teeth at like 14 years old on this book. Where's it at? Let me find it. Where's it at? Oh, here we go. Yeah, I cut my teeth on this. Like heavy, hardcore card stuff. Erdnase, like Vernon's, like, I mean, yeah, it was, I was working on advanced stuff like very, very early on. So, stuff like this, and then like the Kabbalahs and the Phoenixes. The other thing is that, back in the day, if you wanted to see a move or if you wanted to see whatever, you had to go to the fucking convention and try to find this person. There was no, so we would take trips, magicians. We would just take trips to these conventions and just hope to see this move that we've heard about. I mean, and then VHS came, and then we got to film and then send that to people, or they send it to us, and then we get this. So there were a lot of underground Kenner videos at that time that we got to witness. Kenner wasn't a real thing at that time. There was this young kid, obviously older than me, but young, but I was younger than him. But doing shadow coins in his kitchen, with not, and it doesn't look like his hands are touching. It's like, whoa! I remember the first time I saw Three Fly on VHS. It was just Kenner doing it for Homer, and Homer was filming it. And I got to be in that circle where that videotape was thrown around. And you know, so that's another thing. I mean, I got to be in the circles where the best magicians were being shown for the first time, and it was just amazing.
Did you know you were lucky for that at the time? Did you like really appreciate it at the time, or did it take years later to appreciate that?
Great question. I think there's a dichotomy in this answer, right? It's like I knew, yeah, I knew it enough to know how special it was, because every time it happened, I realized, I remember saying to myself, this is wow. It's wow. I can't believe I get to do this as a 14 years old, right? Or 13 years old. And, but then again, at the same time, of course I didn't experience really what it meant, right? Because, you know, that comes at a later time. So since then, oh my gosh, holy shit, man. I got to witness Kenner's uprising. I got to witness Homer's uprising. I got to witness Jeff Edmondson. I got to witness Lance Burton. I got to witness Kozak, my boy Koz. I got to witness. I had the same manager that Del Rey had. So I met Del Rey. I have a Del Rey story. If you ever want to hear a Del Rey story. So like, there's these old timers, but they took George Kirkendall. He was, so before Jamie Schoolcraft, before Roy Cooper, there was George Kirkendall. He was the only one making reels and gaff coins, and he was the greatest. And he lived in Columbus, Ohio. And I remember the first time he did squash for me, where, you know, took a shot glass like this. And I saw him turn into a skeleton in front of 15 people. Dude, he did the Philosopher's Stone, and most people have never seen this, but it's the most magical thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I got to hang out with Don Wayne and David Copperfield and Chris Kenner and Homer Leewat in the backstage while Copperfield. The people are literally waiting for the show to start. I mean, you know how, like, you know, people sit down, they're like, I wonder what they're doing backstage. They're probably getting the show ready, right? We were sitting watching George Kirkendall, because it was getting close to George's, you know, he was pretty old at that time. And he really wanted to show the DC this. And I don't know if you guys know what the effect is, but basically he puts this box down and he opens the box up and he starts talking about this amazing story about alchemy and how there was this person who was searching for the secret to life, and he found the Philosopher's Stone. And if you look up Philosopher's Stone, you'll see the whole mythological thing of what it is. And so he created this whole story. And as he's talking, he has two candles here. He takes the boom, does this candle, and as he's talking, you start to see him turn into a skeleton right before your very eyes, as he's talking about death and how death comes for all of us. Oh, fuck, dude. So I'm literally next to Copperfield. Chris is here. Homer's on the other side. Don Wayne's over here. Carol Baker is on the other side of Copperfield, I think, if I remember correctly. And I'm saying to myself, people think that they're just getting the show ready right now.
Yeah.
Wow. No. David's watching a magic trick from one of the greatest magicians ever lived. I got to experience that. I got to experience going to see Birdcage for the first time with DC. Like I've got to experience these really interesting moments in my life where I got to connect to the hierarchy of magic in different ways, and it just I was very, 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 very fortunate and blessed to have the magic upbringing I have, and I would never trade anything for it.
Wow. When you were around those guys, would you show them things, or were you nervous, or would you just kind of sit back?
I'm sure I was nervous when I first showed Kenner something. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
The first time I met Copperfield was years and years before this, before Kenner was with him, before Kenner was at Illusions or any of that stuff. David was, I think David was doing the Airplane at the time, or maybe it was the Statue of Liberty. So probably 84, and I was probably like 10 or 11 years old. And I was already doing Solid Deception. You know, and this is a vivid memory of mine. So back in the day, David doesn't do this anymore. David reads people when he wants to, but he, you know how like when you're done with the show and you want to get the autograph from somebody, right? So what they had a setup where, as you're walking out of the theater, David would be on a chair in the middle on a high platform. There'd be a bodyguard here and a bodyguard here. You hand the item to this bodyguard here. They hand it to David. They push you down the line. He signs it. There's no, hi, who is this to? David just goes, that's it. Hands it to this bodyguard. Boom, off you go. No questions. You can't get, right? Okay.
Wow.
So, and I think this was the first time, if I'm not, I haven't figured this out. See, the second time I met DC or the first time I met DC, I don't remember which one it was, but I was very, very young. And I asked him, I said, can I show you something? You're my hero. Like I was just gushed, obviously. And he said, sure. And I showed him solid deception. And he looked at me and he said these words. He said, listen, don't give up because you have it. That's what he said. And walked me off. And that was it. And I remembered that. It was so powerful to me. Because I'm like, whoa. And my life's teased that out. Now, me and David, we don't talk that much anymore and all that stuff. But he was a big part of who I became, as far as believing in myself and again, I just got to experience I got to touch a lot of the threads of the past of magicians and magic who still had that energy that was passing through our life at that time. And I got to connect to every single one of those outlets. I guess it's the best way I can describe it. Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking crazy, right? It's nuts.
That's fascinating, dude. I love it. We'll get to some more questions too. That way.
Yeah, please.
Did I ask? Yeah, we already did. What's your favorite effect from other creator?
Right.
When consulting, or the cyber medium says, when consulting for TV, do you get asked to come up with new ideas, come in to add value to existing ideas, or all of the above?
Yeah, all the above. It just depends what the show needs. It depends what the it could be, hey, we have this, we don't know how to solve this problem, can you solve this problem? Or we don't have anything, here's the idea, let's do. So I mean, it just depends what the nature of the show is, basically. Creating, I've learned this about myself. I love going into chaos and creating order. I really do, which is interesting because if you look at my life and the polarization that I've had in the eyes of magicians, and that you were like, "Well, is it really?" Yeah, I really do, because look, I say what I say and I mean what I say for reasons, because life's too short. We're all gonna die, and why not? Why not? Mm-hmm. I became a polar. It's interesting. I think you're making waves. I think you're doing something right at some level when you become a polarized image. I think you are. I mean, I don't want everybody to agree with me. Oh my gosh, please don't. Please don't do that. But you also don't want everybody to disagree with you, because those are the two extremes, right? Because it doesn't matter which extreme you have; they're both bad. Because you're not affecting the world and your craft and whatever you're doing correctly. But it's like Patrice O'Neill said, comedy, and I think magic, and I think when it comes to a polarization in general, because comedy can be polarizing, the good comedy should be polarizing. The good comedy should be half of the audience loves you and half the audience says, does not like you. That's your middle ground. And that's, I think, the hardest tightrope to walk when you do become an image in any form of industry or media or whatever. Yeah. When you do have a brand, right? Or people make assumptions about you based on what they see on trailers and all this stuff. And it's fun to play. Yeah. It's fun to play. And this is what this is. I get to play. And the world is the sandbox, and I get to craft and stuff, and within the context of that, you meet me though. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic that I really love to try to find the balancing line of that as much as possible. Yeah. And there's a lot of people who just don't like me for no reasons. They just heard rumors about me and they think it's true.
Yeah, it's funny weird, because if I do, like, anytime I do a post that has like your name, or I'll get a message and be like, watch out for this. And then I'll say, tell me what it is. Yeah. And he'll be like, a friend of a friend
Right,
bought
right, right,
something,
right.
and
Sure.
so you don't even know
sure.
the story. It's not even you. You don't even know if it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I hate that.
exactly. And I can't tell you how many times it's like, well, I've said this so many times and I've really come to understand this to a certain extent to be able to explain it really well, is that people don't want the truth. They want the story about you. They want the narrative that they can speak because that's all they have to offer. So, and human beings have this really interesting mob mentality. So I can't tell you how many times that I've gone, look at all the past interviews with Greg. Look at every single thing that I've ever done. Look at all of my downloads. Look at everything. I always say, hey, if you haven't got a product, or if you haven't got this, or something happened, or whatever. But I've had people contact me a year later. Go, hey, I don't know where the product is. You're just contacting me?
Yeah.
Are you out of your fucking mind? Come on,
Yeah.
stop, dude. What
You
story?
can't go.
what
You
narrative are
can't go to the
trying
store and return something. Lettuce a year later.
Narrative? What's your agenda really? What
Yeah.
narrative are you trying to spin here? That
Yeah.
you never told. So I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, email me. I'm telling anybody right now, anybody listening, email me, magicwithvision@gmail.com, magicwithvision@gmail.com. Let me know. Show me receipt. A guy just recently did that. I joined the Illusionist Discord. This is the year guy, by the way. And I'm like, really, dude? I'm like, I got your, just give me your PayPal, blah, 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 blah. And before he did it, he was real mean about it. So he wasn't even nice about it. Did we just go through a psychological lockdown? Shouldn't people be a little bit nicer when you're asking for something? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not just gonna go like, oh my God, I don't even want to talk to you now. Why would I? I don't. You're not reasonable in any way.
Yeah.
So immediately, every single time it's ever happened, and I'm telling you guys, it's rare. I promise you, it's rare as fuck that they actually do email me and do show proof and do go blah blah blah. But every single time it's happened, immediately I've given the money back. And then most of the time I give like a $10,000, $5,000 package, download package, because I have over $20,000 in material in this one folder. So I go above and beyond to take care of them. A couple different reasons. One, because it happened. Because for whatever reason it got lost in the mail, or maybe it was one during that time when I was 23 years old. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, trying to raise a family, trying to fucking run a business, trying to perform magic, trying to learn this mailing system at a very early age. I mean, I see these 23-year-olds now, they're doing OnlyFans, they're doing all this weird shit. I was married. I was studying to be a pastor. Get off your fucking asses. What are you doing? I had a child. What? What? I was running a company and I was doing magic. So it's like, did I make mistakes? Fuck yes, I did. A ton of them. And I've tried every single way and option to make sure that those mistakes have been taken care of, reimbursed, and taken care of way beyond what anybody expects. So what was the question?
I don't think there was one. I think
there wasn't a question. I just went on a rant. That's awesome.
No. I think it went from. Yeah, I don't think there was one. We'll go to the next question though. But
all right, cool.
Yeah, I think that was fun.
What was the? How did we get there? I see everybody laughing. How did I get there? Seriously, if anybody remembers.
Yeah, how did you get there? I forget, but someone tell us in the thing.
Yeah, okay.
Chris says, what was the name of the dive bar we were at with Greg Rostami, Pete Turner, Jacob Michaels across from the casino? Was trying to find it while I was in Columbus the other day.
Shakers.
There you go.
Yes, when Pete came into town, we set this up. We brought Greg in. Everybody came in. We had cigars, and I kicked everybody out of the bar. I bought the bar for like the rest of the night, and we kicked everybody else out. And we had our own little party. Yeah, it was really, really fun. We were there for like 5-6 hours. It was just, and we had like 15, 16 people. It was really fun. Yeah, Shakers. Yeah. Did you have fun? Who was it? Who just asked?
It was me. Chris.
Who's that?
Chris,
did you have fun, brother?
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, that was a blast, wasn't it? That was a blast. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Okay, next question.
Andrew Niner asks, where do you find inspiration the most?
Well, the short answer is life.
Hmm.
The long answer is the challenge of life. The challenge of life at every aspect. If you can't find inspiration or some sort of lesson, then I don't think you're living as well as you think you are. I think it's only through the suffering, willing suffering, which is the hardest thing for humans to accept. Shit, most humans can't even accept their own deaths, let alone the idea that you must suffer before that.
I think everyone should be inspired.
It's like Jung said, if you want to find the very thing that you're made of or that you're supposed to do, you have to go into the shadows. You have to do shadow work. You have to go into the shadows and you have to find that part of you that you don't want to, because normally a lot of times the very thing that you want and need in your life is the very last place that you want to look.
Yeah.
And that's that's a very, very solidified fact of life.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of suffering for most people is really hard to really handle and understand, because suffering is going to come to your door, whether it's something you've done or whether it's something other people do, or whether it's something that just life hands you because it's just life and that's the way it is. Meaning a tragic thing happens, a death, a fucking hurricane, or whatever the fuck, who knows. But there's such a reward going through it. When it's like the flight of the phoenix. It's this, the phoenix has to burn. The phoenix has to die in order for it to become the very thing that it is supposed to become. And I think there's that motif is just all in almost every story in our human reality. It's the idea of sacrificial death to a concept of a resurrection of something. And there's a reason that story hits so close at home with human beings, and they don't know why, but it's really interesting. So once you learn that that's a truth and that's a thing, you then start to look at life as a play place. Yeah. You just start to, for the longest time, I used to respond to life. Like I used to try to control things for my entire life. Like I had a horrible, horrible childhood. So I would always try to control things and put them in the right way so I'd feel comfortable and safe and not neglected and all that good stuff. And so I lived that way my entire childhood and into the teens. And then I realized at a certain time that you can't do that. What it's too messy. It's too messy, and you're not good at it. We're all not good at it. We're really bad at it. Mm-hmm. So what I learned is that I had to let life expand itself before me and just show itself. And then I'd respond with action to that revelatory path, if you will. Yeah. It's a lot better. Well, you have to have meaning through suffering. You cannot suffer without meaning. Another philosopher said it really well. There's this idea that a man can, mankind can withstand any how, as long as they know a why. As long as they know a why. But if you don't know a why, ooh, that's a different fucking story, man. And that's a whole different set of faith ideas if you think about it, because it really is a faith example. Because when you know something, you kind of accept it and you go, okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's why living is such a weird thing, because a lot of people don't know why you're here. We don't know what we're doing, really. We don't really solve anything. We just pass it on to the next generation. We really don't it's really a weird dichotomy. It's like, it's not like we're these creatures that solve everything and then everything's great and then we pass that on to the next generation. Everything's great. No, we create problems. We solve certain things a little bit here in this world, but then we die. What? It's crazy. And we just have to hope and guess that the next generation had the same kind of understanding of reality that generation did. It's really weird. Humanity's strange, dude. It's a strange life. Life was fucking really weird. And when you take on that weirdness, you get to participate in it then. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I really like about life, whether it's suffering, whether you're going through good things or bad things, or who knows which one is which, you get to participate in it. And that's pretty special. I think that's really special, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And some people can't handle participating in it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
A lot of
See,
people
but you
check
said
out.
the generation. I mean, if there's anything to see the next generation, doesn't look all that great with some things.
Oh no, we're
for
fucked.
sure.
I think we're done. I think some shit's happening, folks.
Yeah.
Grab your bags. We're going somewhere.
But Benjamin asked
Yeah,
another question, which I have a same
Sure.
kind of question. What annoys you most about the magic industry? Then I said, what makes you really sad about magic, what you see today, and really happy about what you see in magic today? Like that just hurts your soul, you know?
Well, we'll do annoyed, we'll do sad, and then we'll do
Happy.
what was the other one? Happy.
Happy.
We'll do annoyed, sad, and happy. Okay. So what annoys me most about magic today? I think the fact that we have these so-called magicians who are just content hackers who have hijacked the art of magic for their own selfish, glorified, narcissistic fucking gain is the most annoying thing I've seen since I've been alive in magic. And that they have millions of followers who are not magicians. And they just expose magic poorly, by the way, poorly. You know, those videos are like, shh, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude. Fuck you, dude. Fuck every single person that's revealed magic to laymen on social media. You're not a magician. You're a content hacker. That's all you fucking are. That's all you are. You figure.
Yeah, like Katarina, where she does a ring.
Don't
She's
even
like,
get started
let's
with
learn it. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you know, here's what's funny. You know, give people enough rope and they'll show themselves. Tell you right fucking now. I was really weird about ECAT when I first heard about her years and years and years and years and eons ago. I was worried for a little bit. She was just doing cardistry stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Then she started doing magic, and then social media started growing and stuff. And then you know we both did Wizard Wars, and and I started looking, and I'm like, interesting. Then she started revealing her magic, and I'm like, oh boy, we're gonna get into it, aren't we? And she's reviewed my stuff. I got the review video taken down for at least a week. I was happy about that, but they put it back up. So you know, I was okay for a long time, and then when she revealed fucking the pull through and I'm like, really? This so you're one of them. You're the content hacker. You're not a real magician. Okay. Sad. Very sad. Very, very sad. Because here's the trick, right? This is what they do. They start off as real magicians and they get all this following. And then they show the real selves and they already have that following. So it's just going to keep increasing. But if ECAT would have came out and started doing tutorials first, she would have got a lot of shit at the beginning. Yeah. Ramsey did the exact same fucking thing, man. Yeah. The exact same fucking thing. Then he started doing the puzzle videos, and then he started sneaking the tutorials in the middle of the puzzle videos. Yeah, I saw that little fucking trick. Yeah. So it's you know, Lax did the exact same thing, man. Rick Lax did. Flom did the exact same thing. And what does Flom do now? Flom literally looks at every single one of you magicians, every single one of you, whoever you use your hard-earned money to support him, buy his products, buy his ideas. What does he do now? He actually he starts his videos and goes, these stupid magicians won't tell you how to do their tricks, but I will. Yeah. That's true. Whoa. What, dude? I was on to him from the fucking beginning, man. I started talking about him in the beginning when I had Facebook back in the day, man. I recognize these fucking people, these thieves, these hackers. So as you can tell, it annoys the shit out of me. Yeah. And happy. This this community, the community that we're cultivating, that we're taking the very, what we're doing right now is very antiquitous, if you will, because we're doing the very thing through technology, but we're doing the very thing that we used to do when I was younger, of getting magicians together and sharing stories and sharing magic and sharing. So this is how magic should be shared in these Q&As, only for magicians. This is how magic should be shared. Now, do I work for illusionists sometimes, and do I put out magic with them? And are there people there that probably weren't magicians when they first bought it? Absolutely. But I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that when people buy from magic shops, especially illusionists, they usually stick with it at some level. Yeah. So these aren't just people buying tricks and then, because I was really worried about in the very beginning. I was like, should I pull my stuff from illusionists? And because I was really, really tempted to do all that shit back in the day. Yeah. When I saw all this exposure stuff happening on YouTube and everything, before Instagram, before any of that stuff, I saw what was going to happen. I was like, ugh. But then I thought, well, wait a second. How did I get into magic? Well, okay, my dad showed me something. Well, okay, I moved forward. I created what this thing created around me. I got to participate in it. It's taken me leaps and bounds all over the world. So many opportunities, some of them. Why would I begrudge somebody to have maybe those same experiences? Yeah. So I had to look at it like that. And what we found is that the majority of people who purchase from illusionists, at least from illusionists, I can't say anything about vanishing, but I would probably imagine it's the same, stick with magic at some level, and they keep moving forward in some level, whether it's a hobby but they're always buying something. They're always purchasing something. So they're not just doing it to impress girls, or, they're not just to win friends and influence people. Fuck that. If you're doing magic just to win friends and influence people, you don't know what magic really is yet, and you need to go delve deeper into the art. And you know what I mean? There's an entity, a force behind magic that's doing something in this world and helping people cope with life and helping people cope with it. It's a force. It's a life force. And I want everybody to feel that. I want everybody to experience what that is. So illusion is just I don't know, probably about 6 months ago, they put up one of my effects that I taught on the Bold Project on their YouTube channel. And I loved every idea. I thought that was a great idea. I'm like, fuck it. You know why? One, it's not somebody else teaching my material. It's me doing it. And I already got paid for it. Wow. So at least I'm on there teaching my material to people. Yeah. And I didn't have to do another video to go against my belief system of not doing that. It was already there. Yeah. And they can use it under the contract that I signed. You know what I mean? So it's a win-win for every single person. You're seeing the material taught correctly. You're seeing it from the creator and discoverer himself. It's going to reach more people, that's a wonderful thing. And hopefully they'll have those same experiences where they get to use magic, is used to move richer in their life. And then that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Yeah. Like Craig says, I like what Craig says about, like, if somebody's there buying magic from a magic shop or watching a 2-hour interview on YouTube on Craig's channel, or what, like, and go through all that process. They're committed, baby. They're fucking committed. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I tell you something, 4 years ago, I was interested in magic 4 years ago. I mean, my whole life I've always liked watching on TV, but I didn't search for it on YouTube. I didn't search for, for sure. But another question. Yeah. Great questions, guys. Great questions.